Professional Wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Hey, Jess, since you're the only one here, can you feed me the topic this week, pretty please?
We are going to be reviewing Vengeance 2001, which was in December. This pay-per-view would later move to another month, but originally it was in December. And 2001, the 2001 variety was in December as well. So we're just going to do that. And I'm going to say this right now. I hate all the others. And I'm glad
For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or Google Podcast. Or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. Can you do us a solid on social media and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Meta at Our Wrestling Podcast.
Fuck Meta. It's probably Facebook still. I don't know what's going on.
Whatever. Every week I feel like we're going to say something new and interesting about Meta. But we'll get there. Jess, I have to tell you before we start, I was like, man, you're giving me this homework like maybe less than 40 hours notice. And then I started watching and I'm like, this is going to be fun. This was a really good pay-per-view to review.
I think that you and I will differ a little bit just because I have different issues with it.
I think that's possible.
In general.
There's a lot of things that we'll get into, I think, when we get down to especially the final matches that we'll agree with. But when you look at the body of work throughout the pay-per-view, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
This is a mixed bag for sure, but we'll talk as I go. I get triggered by certain things because this is normally when I would introduce like who's champion in WCW. WCW wasn't a thing anymore here.
Yeah.
You go ahead and say your stuff. This is on December 9th, 2001.
2001, 11,800 in attendance with a 307,000 buy rate. This is in San Diego, California, at the Sports Arena. I'm kicking myself.
I can't believe we didn't go.
Wait, how did we not go? It's right.
This is 2001, though. So let me.
Yeah.
This is arguably at the beginning of this year was the most successful year in WWF history. WrestleMania 17 was earlier this year. Let me go back here because I want to really give you some. So after WCW was bought, we talk about fantasy booking, right? We've always focused on the Hogan and Flair shit. Why didn't it happen and all that stuff. And then we're like, well, when they tried house shows, it wasn't really that great and blah, 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 blah. But when you really get this stuff, when you really get your fantasy put right in front of you, you realize like, oh, it never would have happened. It never would have worked out. It shouldn't have worked out. And I really believe that with the whole WCW stuff. Now, a lot of people will be like, bullshit, Jess. If the big contracts would have came over like Goldberg, Sting, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, it would have been a different story. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. So let's say they bought the company out, right? WrestleMania 17 was on April 1st. They bought WCW days before April 1st, right? So like, imagine if 2 months later, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, and Goldberg, and Sting all appear on WWF television. It's not there's not one federation big enough for all those names. How do you air out all that talent? How do you make all those fantasies pay off? Right, all of our dreams, Dave, that we dreamed about during the Monday Night Wars.
That's not even the whole of it. I'll take you even further than that. Nash coming over or Nash?
But that wasn't it though.
I'm glad Nash sat on this contract.
Yeah, me too. Well, me too. But you got to figure wrestling was in a boom period. So and actually here we didn't realize it until then. It was fading out after WCW was bought. There was no more boom period left. It was going down quickly. And guess what? The casuals do like the storylines like NWO, Austin McMahon. The Mae Young giving birth to a hand, all that stuff. Yeah, whatever. But when everything starts fading out, your hardcores are the only ones that are left. So if like to your point, the best thing to do would be to nurture the Guerreros, the Jerichos, the Benoits, the Booker T's, all those guys. Name-wise, they were the B players in WCW. So why would we want that? Do you really want the Goldbergs, the Hogans, the Hall and Nashes? Like you said,
that's a real true talent.
And actually, dare I say it, 4 months later, no, this was in December, right? 2 months later, Hogan, Hall and Nash come in. I think that was desperate. The invasion angle failed. A lot of people say it's because they only brought the B players over. No, it's because they made an invasion angle, period.
Mm-hmm.
They named a pay-per-view Invasion.
They didn't have to.
They didn't have to do that. Why name a pay-per-view Invasion when you know you're only going to get the B players over? This was all a WWE problem from the start, folks. So we're getting into it here, and there's no. So I wanted to set the stage because like 2001 was a crazy year. You know, it was the buyout of WCW and WECW. It was still arguably one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time in WrestleMania 17. It was the culmination with The Rock versus Austin earlier in the year. Sure. And they teased them all throughout the year, which is going to play out in this pay-per-view, which is going to be, I think, why I'm ultimately kind of disappointed with the story in this. But we'll talk about it. Dave and I think we're going to disagree in a good way. In a good way,
because there's work and then there's storyline. And no one can deny that the work at this pay-per-view is fucking great. It's so good. But to get you back into it, 11,800 in attendance on a 307,000 buy rate. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are at the helm as usual. Our beloved Fink is announcing the matches at this point. Before we get into the first match, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah, but before that though, the opening with Freddie Blassie in a weird black and white, I hated.
Oh, that's right.
I hated the opening. I don't know what it was. No, I don't know what it was. And someone kissed Freddie Blassie on the lips at the end. I have no idea what
that was weird. But
I felt violated.
But everything in between that was really good. If they just
it was like the talkie. It was like before they played it on like it was this video leading up to what's going on in this pay-per-view. But it's like
never before was there an undisputed champion.
Yeah, but why did they make it like on a theme where there was no sound? Like because they were playing it like back in the day, movies would be video, and then there was no sound because they weren't capable of putting sound with video. So they would just show a black screen with white letters that said the dialogue they
have music behind it. Yeah.
So they did that here, and I'm like, why? Like I don't understand why.
Because Vince likes the non-talkies. Before we get into anything after the Blassie event. No matches come up just right away, but Vincent Kennedy McMahon comes into the ring to start. It's absolutely hilarious because he is trying to talk his way out of the fact that he had kissed Rikishi's ass before.
Right, he did, but we disagree already. So my notes, I put Vince comes out and welcomes us to Raw. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean Vengeance. And Flair comes out and shuts Vince down to start the show. Because you get it, like Vince comes out and he drones on, and then Flair comes out and says, "I'm the face, I'm the good guy. Woo! Stop talking, let's start." And that's what he did. And I'm like, oh, like this is a Raw. I had a big problem with WWF and WCW.
That's what they do on Raw.
This started in '98, even with WCW, where they started their pay-per-views sold you on watching free Raw the next night, which makes 0 sense. Because you're charging $40 a head to get a pay-per-view, you should use your free television to get people to buy the $40 pay-per-view. But they don't do that anymore. They stopped doing that in like 98. Like it became really obvious that both companies were like, no, we need ratings. Because I get it, television contracts were getting bigger. But I don't care if I'm going to pay $40
as much as Vince hated it, the character was so narrow. When he came out, people reacted.
I'm not saying they didn't erupt. I'm just simply saying
they did.
I've already spent my $40. Why? I obviously watched you kiss Rikishi's ass on SmackDown 2 days before.
Hilarious.
If I bought this,
later, by the way,
if I bought this pay-per-view, a non-Big 4 or 5, not WrestleMania, not Royal Rumble, not SummerSlam, not
you wouldn't know what they were talking about.
I would have already seen that. Why keep fucking? It's like it's another episode of Raw, and they're
if you're a casual, you may be like, what are they talking about right now?
What casual fan spending $40 on a fucking pay-per-view? The casual fan would watch the free programming first and then get the pay-per-view. It makes no sense. Anyway, god damn it. Like, I'm already upset.
You're so hot. Match number 1. Scotty 2 Hotty and Albert versus Test and
Christian. No, Prince Albert, Dave. Like the
Prince
dick
Albert.
piercing.
The
dick piercing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like Scotty 2 Hotty really knew how to be in the right place without it being obvious. There's a spot in the corner where he gets hung up on the ropes. Was that fair?
Yeah.
And he gets turned around but he still turns around and takes the hit from the corner. Scotty 2 Hotty is a massively underrated talent in my opinion. Great heel work from Test and Christian here. Albert was really good in the ring. Like,
He's underrated, actually.
underrated.
Well, he's the head of the performance center now.
He took over the other jerk that had to leave.
Yep.
But I felt, even though he was so good in the ring, he was trying too hard to work the gimmick with Scotty Too Hotty.
Like a dick piercing? Oh, the dancing. Got it.
Well, the dancing. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how you act like a dick piercing, but whatever.
I got really excited when I thought Christian was going to do the worm. When he was like, it was possible. And it was a great finish. I thought it was a great opening match. I give it a B. I had a great time. I was really having fun with this match.
So they just bought WCW earlier in the year, like I explained, or the rights to WCW, and they got at least a B level contract. We can agree they got the B level players.
Sure.
They got ECW, right? They got RVD here and all that stuff or whatever. So the best you can do after we end the invasion angle is open a pay-per-view that I paid $40 for with a mishmash tag match like Prince Albert and Scotty Too Hotty against Christian and Test. Who Christian's a European champion. Already
see we're taking a totally different approach here.
And Christian's a European champion, so let's not defend that title. Let's put him in a weird tag team with Test.
It's not a big four.
However, the work was good. The work was good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is the best use of talent that you should be giving me after you bought the fucking competition and that you did an invasion angle, for fuck's sake. Like, so I don't know why this mishmash tag team was a thing.
But are you mad at them or are you mad at the situation?
I'm mad at the situation. I'm not mad at them. They worked fine. I give it a C+.
Then we get to a coach interview with Steven Regal. And Steven Regal at this point might be in the best shape of his career.
Yeah.
Wrestling wise. Not much really there, but we got Regal versus Edge for the Intercontinental title.
And Edge is the reigning IC champion.
He is the IC champ. Regal takes control early, and it's deliberately slow and a lot of holds because the thing that people don't understand about Regal, he is the ultimate heel. He wants to be booed. He wants to wear you down. He wants to take you to the mat. So when Edge does take control, it gets much more exciting and the cheers go up. This is by design. The stare shot that Edge takes is absolutely brutal to me from Regal. Regal also puts him in two almost like chicken wing power bombs, if that makes sense. Like he folds his arms together, but then Edge counters with the spear. He gets the 1, 2, 3. I gave it a C+, but only because I wanted to see more of it. I feel when Regal gets moving and Regal starts to play that heel tactic where he's kind of on the run, it gets exciting, and I think we just didn't see enough.
I'm going to lead with my grade here, C+. Wow. I thought it was a solid match. I thought, man, when they let Regal loose, he's such an asset to the company. And Edge had been coming off the tag team with Christian up to this point. So Edge was like a fresh singles wrestler here. And they put Regal in there with him to season him. And so on a B pay-per-view, I have no problem with that. So a C+ here is I wanted more. That was my critique.
Yeah, I wanted to see more.
I think it's a strong C+. I don't think that people, you only gave it a C+. No, it was solid work. This is a good match. There was nothing wrong with it. It was to season Edge. I love everything about this, and this is what B pay-per-views are for. I didn't.
He doesn't have those nuts on his hands, Kane. There's a spear. What's there by him? This one. Intercontinental champion Edge was schooled by Regal for the majority of this match. And it looked as if Regal says, I can't beat this man with a wrestling hold. I'll use the brass nuts to get it done. And as Regal was loading up the brass nuts.
A promo with Lita and Matt Hardy talking about the match before or match.
Yeah, which sets up. So basically the Hardy boys are feuding. It's out in public and they put it in storyline that Lita is with Matt Hardy and they were in real life here. So Matt Hardy
were not, I'm sorry.
They were in real life here. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So it kind of became part of the gimmick or whatever. So Matt and Jeff were having a little spat here and they're getting ready for a singles match. Lita was going to be the special guest referee. So Matt is here trying to pitch about how, like, and Lita was like, oh, I'm your girlfriend. I have your back, but tonight I'm a referee and I'm going to be right down the middle. And like, I don't know. I thought this was like over fucking done. I hated the fact that they sacrificed the first Hardy versus Hardy match with this shit. But it was all about drama back here and storyline. I guess whatever.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Jess, you and I talked about this before we started recording, and I felt if this, it sounds really crazy, but you give this match about 10 years of seasoning, and it would have been off the chain. I think.
Well, it wasn't 10 years later, but I want to say it was WrestleMania 25 when they finally faced each other, and I enjoyed that match. So
how long ago was that? I'm sorry, what's the?
I don't remember the year, but it was way after this.
Way after. But here's the thing: there's something about the timing here that doesn't work, and I'm not sure if they were just.
Go into your grade then. The match is Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy with Lita as a special referee.
Yeah. So what I say is
the fact that we know that she's Matt's girlfriend. But yet she loves Jeff like a brother.
Well, the first notation I have is like, is Jeff going to leave his hat on? And it comes off. So he left his hat on for the match. I'm like, they're already not into it, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even really comment on the actual work of the match. What I wrote was, I feel like the crowd doesn't know what to do. And when the crowd doesn't know what to do here, this match was incredibly silent.
Mainly because they were both known for falling off fucking buildings, and then they had a fucking boring wrestling match.
Fair enough. But even on top of that, to that point, I think that's definitely one half of it. The other half is they don't know who to cheer for. Like, no one told them.
That is true. I did think that is true.
Nobody told the crowd where to go. Nobody took a major heel approach. So when you get into the match, it's just like, well, let's just see what happens. So everyone's on pins and needles to see what happens. And in my opinion, we have a good finish to push a further storyline where Lita doesn't see her boyfriend's foot on the rope. And, Jeff takes it off quickly and pins for the win.
Just got countered from the top. And Jeff with Matt down. Jeff up. Can he hit? Oh, he does. The swanton. One leg and all. Jeff Hardy just hit the swanton. What do you do, Lita? And Matt trying to get his foot on the rope. Lita didn't see it.
Win. That part I really enjoyed. I'm like, oh, that's really good, because now they can push the storyline forward, have more matches later, whatever. But the match in its entirety is really bland, and you can tell like it's forced. Everything about this whole storyline is forced. I gave it a C, and I think I'm being generous.
God, it's so weird. You and I are on the same page in a weird way. I was disappointed in this match. It was more about the story. But do you really got to sacrifice the first Hardy versus Hardy for this shit? Like,
it wasn't good.
Right? On a B pay-per-view, you're going to sacrifice it. I guess maybe if you do sacrifice it, it's better than doing it on the main ones. I don't know. They also both wrestled in slow motion due to Lita. And Lita also counted like an old man, or an old lady. She counted super slow, and like the pace was off. It just really shows when you have a guest referee. Referees are really important to professional wrestling.
They're super important.
And when you see a guest referee like this, you really realize, like, wow, referees have a point. Because she's not a trained ref and she had no fucking idea what she was doing. No offense against Lita. She was thrown into this as part of the storyline. It affected the pace of the match because she wasn't an actual referee. Jeff pins Matt after the swanton, but Matt had his foot under the ropes and Lita didn't see it. So it furthered the storyline, but they sacrificed Hardy versus Hardy for this stupid shit. I gave it a C. But I mean a C going down, like not a C.
It is a C down.
Yeah, it's a C down, dude. Like it was just they ruined this match.
We have a segment with Rock and Trish, which is kind of lame, where she gives him a good luck kiss, and he's like, "I'm not focused on you, but after the match we can talk." And I'm like, ugh.
It was is the way they use Trish, but Rock is funny. I'm sorry.
Rock is funny. I'm not gonna.
You are right. You are right.
After tonight, after your big title match, after you win your big title match, and after The Rock goes out there and does what he does best, and then a smackdown on candy asses, there'll be plenty of time for you to smell what The Rock.
You're right.
But it's going to delve into more shit later, where I'm telling you, there's one match I'm not even going to grade it because I'm so mad about it. We'll get there. Match number 4 is the Dudleys with Stacy Keibler in their corner versus the Big Show and Kane for the tag team championships.
Reigning tag champs, the Dudleys.
I have to tell you, when I watch Big Show work the way he's working here, I get really, really nostalgic and I get almost kind of weepy. A man that is of this size and this weight shouldn't be able to work like this. And I know that you see a Big Show now and we go, oh my gosh, why is he still working? Why is he in the ring? This is not fair to him. It's not fair to his family. But when I watch this, I'm just watching the Big Show do cardio work that the Ultimate Warrior couldn't do if we had to compare. He'd be blown up in 60 seconds. The Big Show is working the legitimate match here with the Dudleys, and he's not getting tired. And he worked hard to do that. They talk about that with the show.
I want to interrupt that it was a tag match. Don't forget that. Go ahead.
I'm with you. But Kane didn't do that much work.
You're right.
He did tag in and out. So I'm not at all a fan of what Show did to Stacy. And I feel like if you ask Big Show about that today, he'd be like, I'm not a fan of spanking Stacy Keibler inside of the ring.
We're going to talk about it later.
Unfortunately,
Dave, this is 20 years ago. We forgot to say at the beginning.
It's 20 years ago. And
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that's just the world.
When you watch on it now, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that was allowed. The Dudleys do momentarily take control of the match. Kane does hit Show by mistake, and then Show hits Kane by mistake. The Show gets 3D into expose the turnbuckle, and the Dudleys win. I love the finish. I love how the Dudleys take advantage of that, and it pushes the Kane to Big Show storyline. It gives me a B to B plus.
Oof. Yeah, rating. See, we're way off on this.
I enjoyed it. I was really excited about how Show was working. I think that kind of pulled me over. He was doing great.
It's funny that you say that because I didn't note that, but I did think that. However, I put
what'd you put?
I put that Big Show walked down the ring like he just shit his tights, but didn't have time to take care of himself, so he had to go anyway. And he did. Go back and watch him walk down, and he shit himself. The ending was overthought. The ending was overthought, and everyone was looking.
It's two
like the last 3 minutes. The last 3 minutes were everyone looking over the shoulder to make sure that the other person was in spot, like in their place.
I did see that too.
And I was like, God damn it! Like every fucking time.
And that drives you crazy, Jess. We've talked about this.
Yes, it does. I don't like that because I know wrestling's fake, but don't tell me the wrestling's fake, or don't show me. I should say, don't show me the wrestling's fake. Ending was overthought, like I said. 3D on the Big Show and the exposed turnbuckle was kind of cool, actually. But it was sloppy overall. It really was. Big Show did get winded in there. It's funny that you say that. Towards the end, he was a mess, and like I was like, God damn it! Like just everything from his clotheslines to him. He was just painfully.
Everybody gets winded eventually.
He was painfully putting. Well, let me see here. This was a 6-minute match, Dave. So what are you trying to say to me? It was 6-minute and 50-second match. What are you trying to say to me? And it was a tag match. And it was a tag match, so it was a 3-minute match for Big Show. Give me a break.
Kane didn't put in that much work. We talk about 5-minute matches with Owen Hart that are off the chain where they didn't stop.
It was still
Show did not stop.
Show was in there. He was in there for 3 minutes, and he was.
That's not true.
That's a problem. It is true. The whole match was 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Show was in there half the time, right? Can we agree on that? So that's a little
Show
over 3
did
minutes.
more work with Kane. I don't know about the exact time.
Okay. So let's say he was in there 4 minutes. Is that more fair? Out of the 650?
I'd say 4 to 5.
Okay. Yeah. He's winded. It's a 5-minute match. Give me.
Yeah, it's okay to be winded. By the way,
It is fine. I'm just saying.
Just go back and look at the sequence of work and what he was doing. I was pretty impressed. That's all I'm saying.
He was super big.
He was massive. That's that's kind of the point, though.
It was sloppy overall. I gave it a grade C-.
Match number 5 is the Undertaker versus RVD, who is the current champion for the Hardcore title. Just can I say one thing? This is when the Hardcore title actually kind of mattered.
I don't know if it ever did, but I agree with you in this match.
If it mattered here. I'm just gonna throw it out there. This is an A all the way. I got really excited. I mean, fire extinguishers knocking out Undertaker's eyes. Balcony jumps from RVD onto the Undertaker, which is phenomenal. The Undertaker snake eyes RVD into the aluminum siding, and RVD does this patented steel chair drop kick into Taker. Again, this is when the Hardcore title, in my opinion, meant something. And the ultimate side of it, Undertaker wins with a choke slam into the lower level.
And again, RVD going with the Van Daminator. And again, the Undertaker avoided it. Oh my God! Van Dam choke slam off the stage, through the tables, to the concrete. Now what? Van Dam lying motionless from that choke slam.
I put very entertaining match. RVD really showed that he was more than just an ECW novelty here. I love RVD.
He's great.
I also love the Undertaker's Big Red Evil phase, and he was just entering that here where he cut his hair short, and he would start to wear shirts that said Big Red Evil with the devil on it, and I love that phase. The last when he tried to give him the last ride on the stage, and RVD climbed up the entranceway.
That's right.
Was fucking awesome.
I forgot about that, but you're right. Yeah.
Taker gets the win, like you said. He choke slams RVD through tables from the stage,
down into the sub level.
Yeah, down into off the stage. Yeah, on the side.
You gotta watch this match, guys.
This was a really, really good match. I give it an A-. Like, I think this match was fantastic. The minus doesn't really mean anything, but it was an A-, man. This shit was. They were so good, and I was really happy to see RVD perform, because when you're in there with the Taker's going to go tell Vince what he thinks about you afterwards. And the fact that RVD still was pushed after this and everything, I thought was awesome. I love RVD. So keep going.
Match number 6. We have Trish Stratus versus Jackie for the women's title. Trish is our current title holder here. I'm just going to tell you, Jess, Jerry Lawler is incredibly annoying.
Tell me what you told me before. You don't want to give this a grade, and I don't disagree with you. Keep going.
In my notes.
Keep going. Go.
I said, I'm not even going to grade this one. They never even had a chance to get going. In my opinion, I could be totally wrong here, but the pay-per-view is running long. So where do you snip it? You snip it on the women's title match, and they have to cut it short. So they don't even get to do what they really wanted to do here, in my opinion. And you can see they're on to something special. Jackie is special. Trish is special. They have talent. They couldn't even showcase it here. And over half the match, there's a chant that I totally despise, talking about "We want puppies," which we all know what that means. I'm not going to go any further with that. It really angers me because I know what talent is in this match right now on this pay-per-view with these two ladies, and it pisses me off that that's what everyone is focusing on.
So I want to catch this in a minute snippet that we eventually put this on Instagram. So that's why I'm cutting you off, because I want to get everything in. This match was only 3 minutes and 34 seconds, and it was for the women's title. They obviously put Jacqueline in here to help experience Trish, much like they did with Regal and Edge, which I appreciate that. All I put was women's wrestling has come a long way. It is what it is, man. Like, it was, "We want puppies" chant from the crowd. It was a different time, and that's not an excuse. That's me being sad and saying
it's not even that. It's what they promote.
What the fuck are we doing? And Jerry Lawler wouldn't stop. And again, it was the time. I'm not making excuses for it. It's hard to listen to. It was hard to watch. Trish wins. Grade C. I didn't.
It's the doing. There's the backside. The button. And a nice wrestling move by Trish. Surprising Jackie. And a nice backslide. A backslide. Let's call it a backslide, isn't it? Hope these ladies showed their desire to become the best in their field. Trish came in with a title and left with it. A lot of sportsmanship. I'd like to see him do it again one of these days.
I didn't want to give it below that. I know you don't want to grade it, but they tried. They were told by the agent, "You have 3 minutes and 34 seconds." They tried
for a world title match. So then we get into the title promo.
Now this is the whole. We didn't talk about this. So this is to crown the undisputed champion.
Buried the lead, Jess.
They had already crowned a WCW champion, which they renamed the World Heavyweight Champion here. So there's like a little 4-man tournament between Steve Austin, who was the WWF champion. He's taking on Kurt Angle here, and then The Rock, who is the World Heavyweight Champion, will take on Chris Jericho. The winners of each of those matches will meet at the very last match to crown an undisputed WWF Heavyweight Champion.
Heavyweight Champion.
So here's my thing. So we're going to go Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle, The Rock versus Chris Jericho, and then we're going to go to the main event, which I'm not going to spoil it right now. We're going to spoil it in a second. The women's match should have been before the main event. Let me just say that right now, because the way they booked it was shitty the way they did it. So let's go. The first match here is Steve Austin defending the WWF Heavyweight Championship against
Be a good
Kurt
break.
Angle.
That's good. That's a good point.
Go ahead.
No, I was actually, I never thought about it until you said it. You do the first 2 matches and then the women's title and then the main event.
And I don't mean to shit on the women's title, but if you're going to shit on it, at least put it in the shit on it spot.
Give it a break,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Good point.
So they didn't even respect the women's match and putting it in the proper spot, which was the get up and hit the piss
I have a
match.
whole nother set of fantasy booking that we'll get into towards the end.
That's fine. Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. Go ahead.
Come on, bro. Austin versus Angle. I'm a homer, bro. Watching Angle work, this is an A+ for me. There's so much going on here with this match, and they don't even get into a suplex until more than half into the match, where Angle finally gets into it, and then it goes Suplex City. I was a little disappointed to start because I'm like, man, is Austin not able to perform? I know about his injuries at this point. I know what's happened to him with the Owen Hart match, and I'm like, is he just playing it safe? And then eventually, it just goes off the rails in a good way, and there's suplexes everywhere, and not to mention the knife edges that Stone Cold are putting on to smack the crap out of Angle are getting the crowd so far over. It's so much fun. It has a huge build up. The moonsault miss by Angle. I want to say Angle missed more moonsaults than he hit, and that was the kind of the point in his career. This match is absolutely fantastic. Eventually, Austin does catch him with his finisher, puts him over, gets on to the next match. I am totally, I'm controlled here by the fact that I'm an Angle fan to the end. I love this match. I think of the matches on the card, this is the highest grade I give on the card. It's fucking great. It's a great match.
What'd you give it?
A+.
Steve Austin can kick it, and it moves. That's right. And over the stunner. Here comes another stunner. Austin goes over. Austin hooked the leg. That's right. The rolling stick wins it. I knew he would die.
I'm totally.
I put really good match. These guys had great chemistry. Of course they did. They're Kurt Angle.
They really did. They're so good.
Austin was literally held together with Scotch tape at this point. He was fucking injured and beat up, and it was evident.
But he still put together a ton of Germans.
No, he did. I'm not saying that Austin doesn't ever fucking overachieve. I'm just saying, like, to put him in 2 matches on this pay-per-view is stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me, and he's an attraction on top of it. So don't.
I have my thoughts on that too.
Austin gets a pin with a stunner clean, which is awesome. I give it a B, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I've seen better matches with them.
My A+ is
in that year.
Angle-oriented.
They wrestled at SummerSlam and the pay-per-view after SummerSlam, and they were awesome, and they fucking tore the goddamn house down. Steve Austin and Angle are gold. Angle and fill in the blank is gold. Steve Austin with most people are gold. I'm not telling anybody anything new. Next match.
Just
so Austin retains and moves on.
Yeah, he retains and moves on. He hits that center and goes. So, all right. So, we have a segment that I'm really uncomfortable with, where Test and Trish Stratus, in my opinion, was like a total sexual harassment video. It's totally gross.
Yeah,
totally
just go, move on. Okay.
Like, why? We get to match number 7. We get The Rock versus Jericho. I don't think people.
For the World Heavyweight Championship, The Rock is the reigning. It's a WCW belt, the big gold belt.
Yeah,
they call it.
It's the big.
They don't call it WCW anymore because Vince beat WCW in the Survivor Series the month before. So now it's just the World Heavyweight Championship.
World Heavyweight Championship, which is the big gold belt.
Yes.
I love Jericho's opening here. If you people just don't remember, go back and watch. It's so much fun to watch Jericho come down to the Y2J segment. So amazing. I do like this match, but I like it a little bit less than So Cold and Angle. And there's little things that I see
that's more than fair
that I don't like. The Rock totally misses the ring post hit and has to sell it. That bothered me. Also, the announcing table just didn't break properly for their segment there. I'm like, oh, it didn't totally blow out. And then, but I will say, Jericho mocking the people's elbow was gold when he was going to do it. He took it off, and his elbow pads in the ring like the entire time. He didn't throw it out properly. And he doesn't go there. But eventually, Jericho hits a low blow and hits The Rock with his own rock bottom, which kudos to The Rock.
After Vince distracted him.
Yeah, after Vince distracted him. That's the only way that Jericho hits the low blow, and because The Rock was in total control at the end of the match. But The Rock did let him finish him with his own finisher, that's pretty cool. I gave it a B+. That's what I gave it.
Low blow on The Rock. And there's the rock bottom. My God, don't tell me. The low blow. The rock bottom. No. Oh, God, I can't believe it.
The winner of this bout and new world champion, Chris Jericho.
I cannot believe it.
That's what I gave it.
I put Jericho really hadn't found his heel character yet here, not his WWF heel character. But both guys really worked hard for it. It's not like they didn't try. The worst sharpshooter ever by Chris Jericho. I was getting furious in the sharpshooter because it was bullshit.
That's a good point too.
We deserved Austin versus The Rock because the entire year they were building up to it. So everyone in the arena, and this is very important, everyone in the arena thought it was going to be Austin versus The Rock in the main event for the Undisputed Championship.
Well, Jess, there's no way, Jess. There's no way it's not going to be anything else.
Right.
There's
and
no
that's
way.
Unfortunately, that's what the whole crowd thought.
That was the conversation for like months.
Jericho pins The Rock with the rock bottom, like you said, after the distraction from Vince. I give it a B-. I couldn't give it more than Austin and Angle.
Close.
I thought that was better. Yeah.
Match number 8 starts immediately.
So this is for the undisputed WWF Championship. Austin, who defended the WWF Championship earlier against Chris Jericho, the brand new, seconds before, World Heavyweight Champion.
Hey,
they're facing each other.
Jess, do they go down? Does Jericho go down as a World Heavyweight Champion for that one moment before?
Yes.
In the records archive. He
Yes.
does? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't look it up. I knew you would know.
Yeah.
I had to ask. I was curious. So Austin versus Jericho. There's a bunch of action before the bell where everybody gets their licks in. To Jess's point,
Angle comes down, The Rock comes down.
Angle comes down and gives a chair shot to Austin. And then don't forget that The Rock is going to take care of his stuff where he hits the rock bottom
On Jericho.
On his way out. And
So then both guys are laying down and then they start the match.
before the match starts, which is why there's no DQ. Nobody has to worry about that. The match technically had not started, even though Stone Cold came down noticeably injured from his previous match. I have so much to say about this at the end. If we have time, Jess, you can edit me out. But I didn't go through step by step of this match, but I have a lot of problems with it, provided what it was going to yield at the end. In hindsight, I love the fact that Jericho wins the title, but Jericho is already just completely winded, and understandably so. He just wrestled a tough match with The Rock, and it just doesn't come off as well. Stone Cold is selling the fact that he wrestled a match before because he knows he's going to lose. I don't know if this sounds really bad to say, but I mean, I grade it in the realm of like a flat B, because it just didn't really produce at the end. What I will say is that what it produced in the long run is Chris Jericho that we know of today, which I totally love and appreciate. If this did not happen to Chris Jericho, I don't know when it would have happened. And we have a Chris Jericho that is on top of the world because of this moment. And I absolutely love that. But the match itself is just a little lackluster. And it's not these guys' fault. It's the way it was planned out. I'm sure we'll do some fantasy booking in about 5 minutes. Jess, what do you got?
I put why have this match right after the other one. Like I said, the women's match should have been inserted. They should have given it. Both guys were tired. The crowd was taken out of it, and I can't stress that much. We all were trained all year to think this was going to be The Rock versus Austin.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
And then you get there, and with an undeveloped Jericho heel character at this time, it just fell flat. I'm sorry. I hated it. I hated it when it happened, and I hated it now. Jericho pins Austin to become the undisputed WWF champion after Vince comes down and does that. I love it for the legacy of Jericho. I gave the match a B-. I should have given it lower, but I gave it a B- because they did.
You're thinking of what it produced after.
Yeah, they worked their fucking asses off, and it was no fault of theirs. It was the way the booking order happened, and just the fact that I get Vince was trying to shock everybody because now he's like, I'm the only show in town, pal. I can do whatever I want. But it's like, no, man, you trained us all year to Rock versus Austin. You had Austin turn heel at WrestleMania 17 against The Rock. Rock went away to film a movie.
You, man,
Rock went away to film a movie and then comes back, and then they flopped
and
Austin.
Then they stripped him.
He turned face, and he turned heel again. Then he joined the Invasion. Austin was on the Invasion side, by the way, for a long time, and then they flopped him back face right before this pay-per-view. They did a lot of damage to Austin's character coming in that we never talked about before.
They were so.
And then,
over,
so at the very least,
know.
the fans were like, "I want The Rock versus Austin, motherfucker! If you're gonna fuck with me all year, turn Austin heel, which makes no sense. The Rock goes away to film a movie, then you turn Austin face, then back heel again to go with the ECW WCW side, which makes no sense, and then back on face again." The least you could give me with all the flippity floppity doopity doppity is The Rock versus Austin, and you don't. And then I think Vince said, let's make the main event match right after that match, so the crowd doesn't have a chance to get mad. But it doesn't matter. We're mad.
Hey, how many people had to go to the bathroom before the final match?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things.
I'm not disrespecting the women's match, but at least listen. I know this sounds really backhanded. That's a compliment. At least give them the proper place in the bathroom match. If you're going to do it. If you're going to cut them to 3 minutes and 34 seconds, I'm just saying, put them there. Put them there.
Austin got nailed from behind with a championship belt, and Mr. McMahon now is sending Earl Hebner back into the ring. Oh, God, I don't believe this. Austin's not moving. Jericho's got a leg hook. My God, don't tell me this. My God, it can't be happening. Jericho has done it!
The winner of this bout and undisputed champion, Chris Jericho!
For the love of God, I cannot believe it!
I give the pay-per-view A-. I had a lot of fun watching the entire pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it.
Wow. Other
than the women's match, I really enjoyed the whole pay-per-view. And here's the thing, Jess, if you put the undisputed matches together, like the three together, it's decent enough to pass. This is the highest graded pay-per-view I'll give in a while.
This is why I give it a C+.
Whoa!
But if they make the changes, like you said, or we put the women's match in between or whatever, I think that to me that would raise it up greatly. I would give it more of like a B+ if that was the case. But they didn't. I didn't like the booking strategy of this match. The order of the match.
I'm only going by the match work itself.
And then I did really looking back, it was odd to have an undeveloped Jericho heel win the title. Vince was going for the shock value here.
He was that undeveloped?
Yes. In WWF, yes. We love Jericho with the ponytail and the Monday Night Jericho in WCW, but that was a very different heel than what Vince was going for here. So it was undeveloped for him. He was only heel for like a couple months, if that even going into this.
Yeah, they rushed the whole thing.
They rushed it, and so I felt like you had been indirectly building the entire year to Rock versus Austin. That's what you should have went with.
This is December, right?
And I'm not saying Jericho. Yes, in December. I'm not saying but I have to give Vince credit. He knew that Triple H was coming back in January. He knew at this point that was going to happen. So he had to make room for Triple H to come back as this huge baby face or whatever. And we all know that what would happen was at WrestleMania 18, Jericho would go on to defend the title against Triple H. Not defend, he would defend but lose to Triple H at WrestleMania. And then The Rock would face Hogan in one of the most legendary matches of all time. And Austin would get shit on. So there you go.
That's the fog of it, I think.
And the NWO, 2 months later, the NWO would come back in. Hogan Hall and Nash in February of 2002, and there you go.
My God, for audio fans, give us a listen to Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. Can you do us a solid and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook Meta at Our Wrestling Podcast. This is Dave and Jess with the O.W.P. Anybody else that can't do the solid work, we might not have you back next week. Have a good one.